Hi, and welcome. You're listening to the X22 Report. My name is Dave, and this is episode 3886BN. Today's date is April 19th, 2026, and the title of the episode is Deep State Under Investigation, Panic Sets In, Trump Gathering Evidence to be Used Against Obama. Did you know a popular looks maxing streamer said Gavin Newsom would beat J.D. Vance in the 2020 election because Vance was overweight and Gavin is better looking? Then Vance showed up to a recent interview looking completely transformed. Just weeks after the comment, everyone's pointing to GLP-1 type of drug, the same type of weight loss drug that 31 million Americans are on. But here's the thing. You don't need a prescription or a needle to get those results. This is why I'm obsessed with the particular GLP-1 supplement instead of a pharmaceutical override. It uses plant-based clinical studied ingredients like metabolate to help my body naturally boost its own hunger controlling signals. I get the same fullness and fewer cravings without the prescriptions, needles, or the growing list of side effects making headlines. It supports my weight management while protecting my metabolism so I can keep the results for good. To kick off spring, get 51% off only at trimwithx22.com. Every order comes with free VIP coaching for life, a 60-day satisfaction guarantee, and free express shipping with subscriptions. Once again, that is trimwithx22.com, or just click the link in the description. Let's get into the economic collapse, political and geopolitical news. Now, the deep state, the corrupt politicians, big tech fake news, the puppet masters, you can see they are now panicking. Now, what's very, very interesting is the deep state players, they keep making their rounds. They put out fake information, basically lies, about the Trump team. And that is made up of Kash Patel, yes, Kristi Noem, Tulsi Gabbard, Pete Hegseth. And basically, they keep going around and around and around trying to remove these people. And they keep making fake stories up because, again, when these people are getting close to what they have done, or they're heading up an investigation, or actually producing evidence to show that they're involved in crime, in treason, this is when the attacks happen. And think about why they're attacking Kash Patel right now. Because once again, the deep state players, they're all under investigation. Kash is involved in the investigations. Plus, they've been investigating the rigged election of 2020. And Kash is already out there letting everyone know that Comey wasn't the only one behind all of this, that there are others. And of course, I do believe that we all realize that there are other people that are behind the coup. And you have to remember, the coup started as soon as Trump came down the escalator. They've been trying to rig everything since that time. And yes, they did rig it in 2020. I do believe Trump, the Patriots, allowed them to do this to collect the evidence. And think about what Trump is doing with Iran. Yes, I think his goal there is to basically decentralize the flow of energy. Because you have to remember, going back in time, the deep state players, they set up their system. And they needed control of the energy across the globe because, again, if you remove the entire country and then the world off the gold standard and you place it on the petrodollar system, you need to have control of the energy across the world. So what did they do? Well, to control this, they centralized everything in the Middle East. And they said this is where everyone will get their oil. Everyone will use the petrodollar to get the oil. So what they did was they made sure that Venezuela, they weren't producing the oil for the open market. They made sure that Russia still was the boogeyman. So this way, sanctions were placed on Russia. So this way, their oil wasn't really hitting the open market. They made sure that the United States wouldn't drill for oil. We wouldn't drill in Alaska. They protected the lands. And they did all of this to control where the oil was priced. And if you have Iran as the proxy army, and you had fear, you could control the prices across the globe. I mean, look what happened as soon as Trump decided to strike Iran. Those gas stations that had the gas that they purchased in the tank, all of a sudden the prices started to go up. Why would they go up? They didn't pay the higher price. The gas was already there, but it was driven by fear. And this is how the deep state players maintain control. And now you could see that Trump, I think this is his goal there, is to release the flow of energy. Now, the other part of this is, yes, to get rid of the proxy army, because if the proxy army is there, the deep state players can use that proxy army to create the fear. The other part of this is gathering the information on Obama. So he decided he was going to kill two birds with one stone, achieve two aims at once. So what would he need in Iran to gather the evidence to use it against him? He would need the nuclear dust. He would need the uranium because, again, the uranium has a certain isotope. And we know with uranium-1, we know that the uranium was basically shipped to Russia, then to Iran, then to North Korea, and Obama, Hillary Clinton, and the rest were involved in all this. So I do believe this is what Trump is doing out in Iran. He has two missions out there, and basically he is killing two birds with one stone. And every time he mentions, oh, we're going to get the uranium, all of a sudden the Iranians say, oh, no, we're going to close the strait. Oh, no, we're not going to have peace. If you notice, he continually tests them, and he's doing it on purpose. Remember, the United States controls the Strait of Hormuz. Actually, Pete Hegseth was out there. We already know that we can control it. We're only using 10% of our Navy out there to control it. We've always controlled it. But again, he's putting pressure on the Iranian proxy forces because he wants to push back on them. He wants to use this against them because this way he can destroy the entire proxy army. And think about it. Just the other day, he mentioned, oh, we didn't hit the little boats because they're not that big of a deal. But he did give them a warning. If you do something, we will strike you down like we did with the boats in Venezuela. He knows he can hit them at any time. This is not really a big deal whatsoever. And he knew eventually when he said we're going to go and get the uranium, he knew that Obama and team were going to say, listen, don't give up. Remember, they're trying to drag him into a ground war. Trump is never going to do a ground war. They're trying to get this to go for a very long time. They want this to go into World War III. Trump is now playing with them every step of the way. And I do believe he's prepared and ready now to remove the rest of the proxy army. Now, again, Iran, those individuals within Iran, their government might say, no, we don't want to head in this direction because they know that Trump is not fooling around. So they're actually going to have to make a decision. Are you on the side of Obama? Are you going to keep taking orders from him? Or are you going to surrender and now Trump is in control? This is the fight that is happening right now. And Trump is going to keep pushing and pushing and pushing. And remember, the U.S. can go in at any time to get the uranium if we wanted to. I don't have any doubt of this whatsoever because Trump, he's been monitoring the entire situation. He knows where the weapons are. He knows what they're doing. And as you could see, the Strait, he wanted to show the world. He wanted to show the deep state players. He wanted to show everyone the Iran proxy army has no control whatsoever. Actually, I think he showed Obama, you think you're in control? You're not. Look what I can do. I can close it. I can open it. I could do whatever I want to do in this region. You have no more control in this area. And if you still want to fight, there's no problem. If you want to give orders and keep making problems in this area, we will continue to destroy your proxy army. So think about who Trump is really fighting. He's fighting the deep state, Obama, and the rest. And he's continually sending messages to them. And you can see the deep state players are panicking because, again, all these investigations are going on all around them. Grand juries have him impaneled. And Trump is gathering evidence. And they know that the only way to stop this is to have what? Some type of major distraction. And this is what they've been trying to do. But again, in the end, it's not going to work. We'll be talking a lot more about this a little bit later. But first, let's talk about what Trump has come out and said. He put this out on Truth, and he's pointing to a Daily Mail article. And it says, Trump reveals very interesting findings in top secret government UFO files and says they'll be released very, very soon. So Trump now is going to show everyone probably that there is life throughout the universe. And I wouldn't be surprised if we have some of the technology here on this planet. And I think he's paving the way for this country and the world where we're going to be using a lot of this technology. I think we've been using it for quite a while, but I think he's now paving the way to normalize it, to show people that, look, we do have the technology here. We know there's other life form, and this will no longer be a mystery. Now, the other thing that's very interesting is that Trump now has said, his administration, they're going to be probing cases of missing dead scientists tied to aerospace, including anti-gravity researcher who felt threatened before her purported suicide. So there were many scientists, about 11 of them, with access to government secrets, including an Alabama researcher who revealed she was being harassed for an investigation into anti-gravity technology before she allegedly took her own life. So this, I don't believe, is a coincidence. I think something's going on here, and you can see the deep state players. I don't think they want this information out there. So they're trying to basically kill as many scientists as possible because they don't want anyone to reveal that we have technology way beyond what we have today. I mean, think about it. Yes, we went around the moon. We have rocket technology. Do you really think this rocket technology that we have today hasn't really advanced since the 60s? Or do you think we have other technology which is way, way more advanced that they've been using all along? They just don't want the American people to know this. They don't want the world to know this. Because if we find out that we have technologies, even cures and everything else, and they've been hiding it from us, well, this will be a very, very big game changer. But let's see how this all plays out. This is going to be very, very interesting. Now, the other thing that's very interesting is that U.S. Space Command is now warning that Russia is planning a space Pearl Harbor with nuclear weapons in orbit, saying that if they actually detonate a nuclear weapon in orbit, it can actually disrupt GPS, it can disrupt communications, it could actually send an EMP pulse down to Earth and destroy equipment. Now, again, why would Russia do this? It makes no sense whatsoever because, again, Trump, I do believe, is speaking to Putin. I don't believe Putin wants World War III. I think Putin just wants to have economic ties to the United States. But I do believe they're putting this out there because I do believe this is something the deep state players are going to try to do. I do believe that they're going to try to push a scare event. And for General Stephen Whiting coming out saying this, I think they're trying to relay the narrative to the American people that we're heading to a point in time where the deep state players are going to try to bring us to World War III with some type of false flag, and they're going to try to blame it on Russia. And I wouldn't be surprised if this occurs out in Ukraine or maybe some of the European nations, or even we feel the effects here. And I do believe they're going to try to do something like this. But let's see how this all plays out. But I think this is a very, very interesting warning. Now, the other thing that's very, very interesting is that we could see that the European nations, the UK, they're all trying to take credit for what Trump has done in Iran. Remember, NATO, the UK, all the European nations, they were completely against what Trump was doing. They didn't even want to assist us. And what we've come to find out who our true allies are. Now, remember, these countries are all part of the deep state system. Trump is not part of the deep state system. The people of this country who support Trump are not part of the deep state system. And Trump now is showing everyone that these countries who are part of the deep state system, they will never assist us in anything. Now, I'm not talking about the people of these countries, like the people of the UK, the people of France, the people of Ireland, the people of Germany, the people of Spain. Because, again, you have to remember these countries are run by their installed deep state players. So, again, they're trying to convince the world, I don't know who they're trying to convince, but no one's buying it, that they were responsible for what happened in Iran. Trump put this out, and he's pointing to Sean Hannity, and it says, Victor Davis Hanson says European leaders are now trying to take credit for what happened to Iran, calling it shameless after they stayed on the sidelines while the real work was done. I think now that all the heavy lifting has been done and Iran is flat on its back, you're going to see all these opportunistic carry-on actors come in. You're going to see the UN say, well, we're going to be in charge of the peace, or we're going to see people say, this is what we're going to do with Lebanon or individual European states or the EU or NATO. But none of them were to be found when it was very unpopular, very risky, and Iran had this reputation unfounded. I think, but it was the terror of the Middle East. We were told it was indomitable For 47 years, you might want to go to Iraq or Afghanistan, but you don't go near Iran. They're too crazy. They're too dangerous. And Donald Trump, in less than 6 weeks, with the help of the Israeli Air Force, demolished it. And now all of a sudden, everybody wants to pile on and think that they're somehow responsible for the future of the new Middle East. It's really shameless. It really is. And again, do you really think they're going to tell Trump what to do? No. These people have no say in the matter whatsoever. Trump is doing it his way, not NATO's way, not the EU's way, not the deep state players' way. Trump is doing it his way, not even Israel's way. Actually, Trump controls Israel. So Trump is in control of the entire situation. And you can see that these deep state players, they are very, very weak. And no one is going to look at them and say, look at the great job that you did. It's absolutely ridiculous. And you can see the deep state players, they're continually putting out fake stories, especially against our brave soldiers that are out in Iran. It's just absolutely amazing in what they do. They keep putting out fake stories over and over and over. Pete Hegseth put this out and said, the U.S. Navy is correct. More fake news from the Farisi press. My team confirmed the logistic stats for the Lincoln and Tripoli. Both have 30-plus days of Class 1 supplies food on board. NAVCENT monitors this every day for every ship. Our sailors deserve and receive the best. So they put out a story that there's food shortages. Amuse put this out and said, the false food shortage claims originated from accounts based in Southeast Asia, amplified by Ukrainian accounts. Photographs from the American-class amphibious assault ship USS Tripoli, taken yesterday, confirmed the food service looks absolutely great. And the food looks great on the USS Abraham Lincoln near the Strait of Hormuz. The false stories about terrible food were made in Southeast Asia. So once again, you can see they're trying to put out fake information saying that our sailors are starving, which is absolutely ridiculous. It makes no sense whatsoever. But think about it. All the fake propaganda is coming from Iran, coming from other countries, and the fake news here basically uses it to feed it to the American people without doing any investigation, without doing anything, without asking the Trump administration and what's really going on. And it's done on purpose because you have to remember the fake news is part of the criminal syndicate. The fake news is not with the people of this country. Glenn Beck says American protest groups may be illegally colluding with Iranian state media to spread Iranian propaganda. And this is coming from Data Republican. The national coordinator of the United National Anti-War Coalition receives 83 direct calls from the U.S.-sanctioned Iranian outlet, Press TV, over a 29-month period. That's a sustained relationship. These are not booking calls. The call spikes consistently precede protest surges by about a month. You see a spike in Press TV outreach. And then a month later, you see a spike in Iran and Palestine-related street protests. Absolutely. This would be a FARA violation. The NCRI assesses with high confidence that some organizers are acting as foreign agents on behalf of the Iranian regime without appropriate registration under FARA. So once again, you can see the deep state players, they're pushing propaganda across this entire nation. It's used for the protest, it's used in the fake news, and if they can't get this information, the fake news just makes up whatever they want, because you have to remember, they are the bullhorn for the deep state players. And you could see every single time they try to put out misinformation or disinformation, you could see that Trump and his team, they push back very, very hard. And you have to remember, most of the security clearance for all these different CIA operatives within the news agencies, that it has been removed. Yes, are there still sleepers? Are there still those individuals within different agencies? Yes. But again, Kash, Gabbard, Ratcliffe, now Blanche, they're all still cleaning out their agencies. Because remember, the agencies have tens of thousands of people. And to go through every single one within a month or a week is absolutely, even a year. Because again, these people are very, very good at being sleepers. And when they're activated, that's when you see them. But you can see Trump is letting everyone know that he is in complete and utter control of the Strait of Hormuz. He put this out on Truth. He said, the Strait of Hormuz is completely open and ready for business and full passage, but the naval blockade will remain in full force and effect as it pertains to Iran only. Until such time as our transaction with Iran is 100% complete, this process should go very quickly and that most of the points are already negotiated. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President DJT. Then he said, now that the Hormuz Strait situation is over, I received a call from NATO asking if we need some help. I told them to stay away unless they just want to load up their ships with oil. They were useless when needed. A paper tiger. Absolutely. And Trump says Iran has agreed to never close the Strait of Hormuz again. It will no longer be used as a weapon against the world, President DJT. Now think about what he said. He said, okay, Iran says they're not going to do anything. Now, pretty much what he's doing, he's setting them up because he knows that once he mentions certain things, Iran is going to take orders from Obama, from the deep state players, to make sure that Trump doesn't do the things that he's going to do. So think about what just happened here. Tony Saruga put this out. The audio captures the challenging dynamic. Small, fast Iranian boats using warning, swarming, and direct fire to enforce control, forcing tankers into U-turns or panic. This is exactly what happened with the 20-plus vessels turned back today and the mutual blockade chaos. So basically, once Trump said something, which we'll be discussing in just a sec, Iran, I do believe, probably got instructions to say, listen, I don't care about the ceasefire. Make sure that you do not cooperate with the Trump administration. Now, I think every step of the way, Trump does these things on purpose to basically push the deep state out from the shadows and makes them react. So now that we see bullets firing, they actually basically violated the ceasefire. Trump now has the ability to do what? He has the ability to destroy these vessels because now they're out. They spotted them, they're tracking them, and they see them. And again, you just don't destroy them until they do something. Trump says Iran decided to fire bullets yesterday in the Strait of Hormuz, a total violation of the ceasefire agreement. Many of them were aimed at a French ship and a freighter from the United Kingdom. That wasn't nice, was it? My representatives are going to Islamabad, Pakistan. They'll be there tomorrow evening for negotiations. Iran recently announced that they were closing the strait, which is strange because our blockade has already closed it. They're helping us without knowing, and they are the ones that lose with the closed passage. $500 million a day, the United States loses nothing. In fact, many ships are headed right now to the U.S., Texas, Louisiana, Alaska to load up compliments of the IRGC, always wanting to be the tough guy. We're offering a very fair and reasonable deal, and I hope they take it because if they don't, the United States is going to knock out every single power plant, every single bridge in Iran. No more Mr. Nice Guy. They'll come down fast. They'll come down easy. And if they don't take the deal, it will be my honor to do what has to be done, which should have been done to Iran by other presidents for the last 47 years. It's time for the Iran killing machine to end. President DJT. So think about it. We only have a couple of days until the ceasefire ends, like 3 days or so, because it is scheduled to end on April 22nd. Here, all of a sudden, Trump makes the announcement before the weekend that the strait now is open. Iran says they're not going to close it. And all of a sudden, they decided to do these things. And the question is why? We'll be getting to that in just a sec. Trump says whether people like Israel or not, they have proven to be a great ally of the United States of America. They are courageous, bold, loyal, and smart, unlike others that have shown their true colors in a moment of conflict and stress. Israel fights hard and knows how to win. So think about it. We have UK, we have Germany, we have France, we have Australia, we have all these countries. They've done nothing. Israel is the only country that's doing something, which is very, very interesting. And by the way, Trump dictates to Israel in what to do. So why did Iran decide to break the ceasefire? Why did they decide to say, hey, we're not going to open the strait? Again, they're not in control of the strait. Trump is playing with them. What do you think Trump wants from Iran. Yes, he wants decentralized oil. He wants the price of oil to come down because actually this goes into his agenda of basically separating us from the central bank system and separating from the system that they set up. But the other thing that he wants is evidence against Barack Obama. And who do you think is giving instructions to the Iran proxies? It's the deep state players and Obama. And when Trump put this out, the USA will get all nuclear dust created by our great B-2 bombers. No money will exchange hands in any way, shape, or form. You think that's a hit to Obama? I think so. This deal is in no way subject to Lebanon either, but the USA will separately work with Lebanon and deal with Hezbollah situation in an appropriate manner. Israel will not be bombing Lebanon any longer. They are prohibited from doing so by the USA. Enough is enough. Thank you, President DJT. So Trump, he just let everyone know, I control Israel. They're doing exactly what I want them to do. And he's already pushed Obama into doing what he wanted him to do because he made the announcement that we're going to be getting the nuclear dust. What do you think the nuclear dust is? It's the uranium. You already know why people are moving to crypto. But here's the problem. Most wallets still plug into the same system we're trying to escape in the first place. That's why Rumble built Rumble Wallet. It's a self-custodial wallet that lives inside an ecosystem that actually defends free speech and financial freedom. No bank holding your balance. Not even Rumble can touch your funds. This is your money on your keys on your terms. If you're already using Bitcoin or stablecoins, Rumble Wallet gives you even more power. Direct, fast tipping and support for creators right on Rumble without waiting weeks for payouts or dealing with random account holders. On-chain payments in assets like Bitcoin, Tether Gold, and USAT so you can move value globally without asking anyone for permission. Most wallets stop at storage. Rumble Wallet connects your money to a marketplace of ideas that refuses to cave to censorship. So if you're serious about sovereignty, financial, and digital, this is where you level up. Go to wallet.rumble.com or search Rumble Wallet in your app store, download it, back up your recovery phrase, and move your money where it belongs, in your hands. Rumble Wallet is a technology provider only and not a custodial service. See terms at wallet.rumble.com or just click the link in the description. Uranium has a certain isotope. Where is that isotope? How can you find it? Well, you can detect where it was originated from, and it's going to show that Obama was involved in shipping the uranium to Russia, to Iran, to North Korea. So let's go back a little bit in time. Trump put this out on October 19th, 2017. Uranium deal to Russia with Clinton help and Obama administration knowledge is the biggest story that fake media doesn't want to follow. New Donaby book says she paid for and stole the Dem primary. What about the deleted emails? Uranium, Podesta, the server, +++. Interesting. Clandestine says, everyone has been asking what Iran's has to do with the draining the swamp and holding deep state U.S. politicians accountable. What if the single most damning piece of evidence against the deep state Obama administration was sitting underneath the rubble of Fordow? The uranium. Absolutely. Then he says this, talking about clandestine. Iran is about Obama Clinton. The oil, global reset leverage over NATO, China, etc. Those were just added bonuses. I think it's the opposite. I think the added bonus was getting the uranium, but opening and controlling the strait was the main objective to destroy the central bank system. This entire military operation in Iran has been about destroying Iran's nuclear program and proving the Obama administration is responsible for it. That's why Trump repeatedly says the nuclear dust is the number one most important thing in negotiations. He doesn't just want Iran to sign a deal not to make nukes. He wants the uranium from Fordow. So the U.S. military can use nuclear forensics to confirm the origins of all the uranium. U.S. military intelligence knows exactly where it came from. They are just there to confirm what they already know. Trump is in Iran to gather incontrovertible evidence, isotopic signatures, nuclear fingerprints. This is why all propaganda assets have been deployed, why both the left and woke right squeal so loudly about Iran, and why there's so much disinformation online about the situation in Iran. Trump is about to secure the smoking gun that will take down the Obama administration. Hence, why the traitors are in such a panic. It's happening, and they know they can't do anything to stop it. And think about it. Trump has used the narrative over and over and over. They're going to create a nuclear weapon. They're going to create a nuclear weapon. Basically, what he was saying, and he was kind of projecting this out to Obama, yeah, we're going to get the uranium, we're going to get all this information, and we're going to use it against you. And this is exactly what Trump is doing. And every time he sends a message out there talking about the nuclear material, what happens? Well, it looks like the deep state players, the Obama administration and the rest, they keep saying, okay, don't let them have it. Try to bring this into a ground war. See if we can get this going on the ground so we can start World War III. Trump now is playing with every single one of them. Remember, he has total dominance over this entire area. There's nothing that Iran can do. They don't have a secret weapon. There's no real sleepers that are out there. They were captured a long time ago. They don't have the ability. Yes, now if you see one or two, something might have slipped through. But at this point in time, what are they waiting for? When are they going to do all of this? When are they going to use their secret weapons, their most powerful weapons in the world? You would think this is the point when they would use it. Now, if they decided to use a nuclear weapon, this would screw them up completely. And I think this is why they're not doing it. But what they want is they want Trump to keep pushing. They're trying to make it tougher and tougher. They're trying to drag it out. They're trying to basically gaslight him into bringing the ground troops onto the ground. But again, that's not going to happen. Trump has air superiority. These little fast-running ships in the Strait are meaningless. They could be taken out in a second. And again, Trump wasn't going to take them out now because, again, there's a ceasefire. He wasn't going to break the ceasefire. He knew that they were going to break the ceasefire. Well, now it's open season. So they're kind of screwed. And you can see Trump, he has complete and utter control of the entire situation. Plus, all roads lead to Obama. And remember, if you're going to build a case against the deep state players, you make sure that you have a mountain of evidence, not just on one thing, on almost every single treasonous acts that they have committed. This is what you do, because remember, we have one chance to get them all. And Trump is taking that chance now, and he's going to win. Now, the other thing that we could see is Trump now has announced his nominee for the leadership of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. And this is Dr. Erica Schwartz. Now, a lot of people are saying, why would he bring this person in here? She's pro-vaccine. Remember, every single vaccine is not bad. Every single vaccine that the pharmaceutical companies push very, very hard and give you them for free, those are pretty much the bad ones. But there are some that are still good that we do need. And I do believe Trump brought this individual in there to basically shut down the deep state. Remember, you have RFK Jr., who's anti-vax, and then you have this person who believes in the vaccines. Who's her boss? RFK Jr. So I do believe Trump, he trusts her, and basically he's going to be moving forward with this. This is what he put out on Truth. He said, I'm pleased to announce the new leadership of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. It is my honor to nominate the incredibly talented Dr. Erica Schwartz, MD, JD, MPH, as my director of the CDC. Erica graduated from Brown University for college and medical school and served a distinguished career as a doctor of medicine in the United States military, the greatest and most powerful force in the world, and then served as my deputy surgeon general during my first term. She is a star. I am also pleased to announce the appointment of Sean Slavinsky as the CDC Deputy Director and Chief Operating Officer, Dr. Jennifer Shuford, MD, MPH, and the CDC Deputy Director and Chief Medical Officer, and Dr. Sarah Brenner, MD, MPH, as Senior Counselor for the Public Health to Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. These highly respected doctors of medicine have the knowledge, experience, and top degree to restore the gold standard of science at the CDC, which was an absolute disaster focused on mandates under Sleepy Joe. Together, they will do a tremendous job leading the CDC as we continue to make America healthy and great again. President DJT. So Dr. Schwartz is a well-documented vaccine supporter who actively backed COVID-19 vaccination efforts while serving in the Trump administration. She was Trump's deputy surgeon and helped with federal COVID response, including vaccine deployment and testing site setup under Operation Warp Speed. In her prior U.S. Coast Guard career, she wrote pandemic influenza and viral outbreak policies and strongly promoted vaccinations as a core preventative measure for service members. Public health and vaccine critics alike describe her as mainstream, pro-vaccine figure. Some vaccine skeptical voices have been called her the queen of mandating vaccines because of her support for military and public health vaccination programs. So I do believe Trump put her in this position because he trusts her. I do believe she's going to be getting information that she didn't have before. And RFK Jr. is going to share that information with her. And I do believe that Trump, at this point in time, trusts her enough to follow the proper procedures. Now, think about what he did. He set up someone that's pro-vaccine. You have RFK Jr., which is pretty much anti-vaccine. Now he has a balance in the medical industry. And I do believe this is how he can combat the pharmaceutical companies, combat the fake news and everyone else. And I do believe, hopefully, since Trump trusts her, now, again, people can turn on you, hopefully she'll do the right thing. And I do believe RFK will be directing her, and she will make the argument of why these procedures that they are pushing right now have to be done. So let's see how this all plays out. This is going to be very, very interesting, because I think this time around, what Trump is doing, he's making sure that he's putting the people in the proper positions. And just like with life and everything else, yes, you might think someone is the perfect person. You might trust them. But again, you have to test them out. You have to see who they truly are, what their true character is. And we can see from the past, there are some people that play a very, very good role, and then later on, they turn. And we've seen this time and time again. And let's see how this all plays out. But the other thing that we could see is that Mamdani and Obama, they were together at a daycare center, and it looks like there's two communist people. You have to remember, Mamdani actually visited Obama during the mayoral election, got instructions from Obama, and you have to remember, going back in time, Obama was the architect of the daycare centers. Basically, this is their money laundering operation, and we have both of them singing The Wheels on the Bus with some kids. And once again, you could see they are working together. Now, the other thing that's very interesting, and Patriot Newswire put this out, is that Mayor Mamdani has just banned large celebrations of more than 20 people for America's 250th anniversary, which is absolutely ridiculous. Mamdani cited staffing shortages as the reason, but he allowed over 1,000 Muslims to celebrate Ramadan in Times Square. Is that fair? Of course it isn't. Remember, these are Marxist, communist, Muslim people. They're not here for America. It's infiltration from within. It's very, very clear. Now, the other thing that's really clear is how the money laundering system actually works. Now, you can see this out in Minnesota. You could see it out in Oregon. You could see it out in Washington, New York. You could see it out in California. And we know the deep state players, they use book sales to launder the money. This is how they funnel the money around. And what's very interesting is that Newsom used donations to inflate the book sale. So he had his PAC purchase the books to make it look like he was selling the books, which is absolutely unbelievable. So Newsom reportedly sold 97,400 copies since its release. Of those, 67,000 were purchased by Newsom's Campaign for Democracy Committee through a donation for a book scheme. So in total, Newsom's PAC spent $1.5 million on the effort. This is how the money laundering works. Steve Hilton says Gavin Newsom's bestseller memoir just got the ultimate California treatment. His PAC dropped $1.56 million of donor cash to buy 67,000 free copies and mail them to anyone who donated any amount. That's 2/3 of all print sales. Nothing says young man in a hurry like rigging your own book numbers with political slush funds while California burns. Buzz Patterson responded to this and said, Steve Hilton's on it. This is basically money laundering. Newsom writes a book. His PAC uses campaign donations to buy his book. He makes money on the royalty he gets back. His book sales are artificially inflated, making him look more legitimate on the presidential stage. Absolutely. And that's what we're seeing. This is money laundering 101. This is what they do. They use book sales to funnel the money through. This is why they get the advances. They never even sell a lot of books. So when you really break it down and you start to look at their book sales and how much they're actually receiving from royalties and everything else, or advances, you could see that each book is normally around, $5,000, $10,000 a book. It's absolutely unbelievable. Just like it's unbelievable now how all these people have turned on Trump, and Trump is continually calling out these people. Trump, he put this out on Truth and says, it's easy. Tucker is low IQ person, always easy to beat and highly overrated. So are Megyn Kelly, Candace, really dumb and mentally ill, and bankrupt Alex Jones, who is completely fried. There are others also. Then we have some that are very good, true MAGA all the way, and smart. I should do a list of good, bad, and somewhere in the middle. Wouldn't that be fascinating? Yeah, actually, that would be pretty cool. So once again, this way people would know, look, you see these people? They are completely against President Trump, everything that he's trying to do. And you can see they are controlled just like everything else. Actually, once again, as we mentioned before, Fox News, all they did was they bought another company. They hired these people. And basically, people think that, oh, I'm not watching Fox because it's fake news. They just went into the podcaster arena to trick the people. This is what the deep state players have done. And I do believe this is why now Trump is calling them out on all of this, because once again, you can see as we get closer to the midterms, they're going to be pushing against Trump's agenda. And that is to take back this country. And that is the entire mission. But you can see every step of the way, everything the deep state players have tried to do against we the people, it has failed. And what's very interesting is that the Proud Boys, they have now been deemed innocent because the star witness who convicted the Proud Boys of seditious conspiracy recanted. His name is Jeremy Bertino. He was the entire case. The prosecution had nothing without him. And now it all fell apart. Colonel Towner Watkins says, yes, this has happened so often in the U.S. The FBI and DOJ has done this for decades. They find someone that has done something wrong, make them an informant. They use him to infiltrate a perfectly innocent group that disagrees with something the government is doing and use the informant's testimony to convict innocent Americans. Our government is ran like the mafia. Well, that was FBI 1.0. That was DOJ 1.0, ODNI 1.0, DHS 1.0, CIA 1.0. Now, everything has changed. And you can see that every step of the way, 2.0 is now being restructured to go after the deep state players instead of protecting the deep state players. And you can see every step of the way, the deep state wants to stop Trump from building the ballroom. And they really can't stop him, just like everything else. It's a delay tactic. And once again, all they can do is delay, delay, delay. And once again, are they really concerned with a ballroom where he's not even using the taxpayer money? No, I do believe what they want is, number one, they don't want him to ever use it. Number two, they don't want him to finish the structure because, once again, he's undoing everything Obama did underneath the structure. But this is what Trump put out. The White House doesn't have a ballroom, no taxpayer money, which presidents have desperately wanted and desired for over 150 years. But a Trump-hating Washington, D.C. District Court judge, a man who has gone out of his way to undermine national security and to make sure that this great gift to America gets delayed or doesn't get built, is attempting to prevent future presidents and the world leaders from having a safe and secure large-scale meeting place or ballroom, one with bomb shelters, a state-of-the-art hospital, medical facilities, protective partitioning, top-secret military installation structures and equipment, protective missile-resistant steel, columns, roofs and beams, drone-proof ceilings and roofs, military-grade venting and bullet ballistics and blast-proof glass, which all means that no future president living in the White House without this ballroom can ever be safe and secure at events, future inaugurations, or global summits. This magnificent space will allow them to carry out their vital duties as the leader of our nation. Furthermore, the ballroom, which is being constructed on budget and ahead of schedule, is needed now. Almost all material necessary for its construction is being built and or on its way to the site ready for installation and erection. Much of it has already been paid for, costing hundreds of millions of dollars. If somebody, especially one with no standing in, had a complaint, why wasn't it filed many months earlier, long before construction was started? The public record was open for all to see. Everyone knew that it was planned and going to be built. The highly political judge and his illegal overreach is out of control and costing our nation greatly. This is a mockery of our court system. The ballroom is deeply important to our national security, and no judge can be allowed to stop this historic and military imperative project. Thank you for your attention to this matter, President DJT. Then he says the person who filed the meritless and lawless suit on the desperately needed White House ballroom being built as a gift to America without tax dollars, a woman walking her dog, has absolutely no standing to bring such a monumentally important case against our country. The Trump-hating judge's opinion is radically different from his first opinion that was issued weeks ago, while still being unlawful and ambiguous, which never even addressed her complete lack of standing. Every political pundit has said this case is meritless, even a joke, but it's not a joke to me or the people of America. Too much hard work, time, and money spent in order that a judge can claim that he ruled against Donald Trump, something which I've gotten used to, but will not accept. So basically, as we know, Trump went ahead and appealed this entire thing, and the D.C. Circuit recently ruled the construction on President Trump's White House ballroom, well, can't continue. So once again, he's going to continually appeal this, and the delay tactics are not going to work. And basically, at this point in time, that's pretty much what they are. They're just delay tactics. There's nothing that they can do to try to stop this, and they won't stop it. They just want to keep everyone busy. They want the headlines. But again, just like the deportations and everything else, they can't stop what's going to happen. All they can do is delay. And even the delays right now, they're failing every step of the way. This is why I do believe the deep state players are going to be moving into their next phase. And their next phase, I do believe, is war, maybe a cyber attack, and a major distraction, because this is all they have left. Because once they lose the midterms, they're screwed. Yes, you're going to see lawsuits. Yes, they're going to try to delay people from taking their seats in Congress. They're going to do whatever they possibly can. But in the end, it's all going to fail. And think about it. Kash Patel right now is doing investigations into those people that try to actually remove President Trump from his presidency, where they actually formed a coup during his first term and then actually overthrew the United States government at the end of his term in 2020. So basically, they know that Kash now is digging up all the evidence, that he has the evidence, and yes, there's going to be people that are going to be arrested in the end. And this is why they're continually coming out with fake stories. Let's go back a little bit in time. Remember Variety and CNN international anchor Christine Amanpour crashed and burned in their attempts to own Secretary of War Pete Hegseth? They tried to bring down Pete Hegseth over and over and over. They tried to bring down Tulsi Gabbard over and over and over. And now they're on to Kash Patel. Seems like they're just going around and around and around, hitting all these people. So basically, the Atlantic, they came out with a story. Kash Patel has alarmed colleagues with episodes of excessive drinking and unexplained absences. By the way, this is completely and utterly fake, because they're trying to say that he's missing in action. It's absolutely ridiculous. So the article begins with an anecdotal story about Patel supposedly losing access to his computer and freaking out so much that he assumed he had been fired. It rambles on with people familiar with this matter, sourcing peppered with quotes from people who actually matter, like White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt and Acting Attorney General Tom Blanche. Erica Knight wrote a detailed breakdown on just how this nonsense came about. According to Knight, every other D.C. publication were privy to this rumor and allegation. Some had had them pitched directly to them and gave it a hard pass, but The Atlantic, they said, hold my beer. The Atlantic published this story, which is completely and utterly fake. Here's reality. Since being sworn in, Director Patel has taken a grand total of 17 days off, half as much time off as Comey and Wray, and he spends twice as much time in the office as either of them ever did. The so-called intoxication incidents, The Atlantic breathlessly reports, have happened exactly 0 times. Under his tenure, 67,000 arrests nationwide, violent crime arrests up 112%, murder rate down 20%, 1,800 criminal gangs dismantled, 2,200 kilos of fentanyl seized, enough to kill 178 million Americans. 300 human traffickers arrested, 6,200 missing children recovered, 1,700 online predators arrested, 490% increase. 8 of the top 10 most wanted captured, double the previous 4 years combined. 1,000 plus agents redeployed from D.C. bureaucracy back to the field offices chasing criminals. The Atlantic's reporting fabricated stories about breaching equipment that is never requested, intoxication claims with not a single witness willing to put their name on one. Basically, it was all fake. Mike Davis says, this is an obvious political operation by disgruntled current and former FBI officials. They make no secret of that. They serve as anonymous sources for this hit piece. This is Exhibit A, why we need Kash Patel to keep cleaning house at the FBI. So basically, sleepers were activated. They're trying to push these fake stories. They have no evidence whatsoever. And basically, they just outed themselves. And remember, Kash, Todd Blanche, Tulsi Gabbard, they're still cleaning their agencies. FBI Director Kash Patel responds to this and says, see you and your entire entourage of false reporting in court. But do keep at it with fake news. Actually, malice standard is now what some would call a legal layup. And then he says, memo to the fake news. The only time I'll ever actually be concerned about the hit piece lies you write about me will be when you stop it. Keep talking. It means I'm doing exactly what I should be doing. And no amount of BS you write will ever deter this FBI from making America safe again and taking down the criminals you love. And remember, Kash, he just pretty much announced that basically they're going to be arresting people very, very soon. Well, he said we'll be arresting the deep state coup plotters who tried to rig elections against Trump. And he says Comey is not the only one. So they've been gathering a lot of evidence. We know that grand juries have been impaneled. And you can see that the deep state players, they are becoming panicked over all this. And fear is now setting in. This is why we see these lies that are coming out. And what's very interesting, and Paul Sperry put this out, says, despite lying to IG investigators and now being the subject of criminal referral, I'm told by a source who once helped represent phony Trump impeachment whistleblower Eric Ciaramella that he still maintains and enjoys top secret security clearance. Well, again, it looks like this is also fake because DNI Tulsi Gabbard says this is false. He no longer holds a clearance, not getting information. So think about it. Why does the deep state continually lie? Why does a fake news continually put out lies, these fake stories? Well, because for much of human history, many legal and social systems operated on guilty until proven innocent model. Think medieval Europe, witch trials, ancient heresy inquisitions, or even some earlier common law practices. The accused often had to prove their innocence through ordeals, oaths from character witnesses, or impossible feats. The accuser didn't need ironclad evidence. The burden fell on the target. The asymmetry made false accusations devastating and quick to spread. Once the claim was out, the damage was done, and clearing your name was an uphill battle. Fast forward to today, and the internet, especially social media, recreates that exact dynamic on steroids. It's not a formal courtroom, but the court of public opinion defaults to presumption of guilt. Someone posts a juicy accusation, rumor, a manipulated clip. It gets amplified by algorithms that reward outrage and novelty. The target now has to disprove it, gather evidence, explain context, chase down the original poster, etc. Meanwhile, the original lie requires zero proof to go viral. This is exactly why Brandolini's law, also called the bullshit asymmetry principle, feels so true. The amount of energy needed to refute bullshit is an order of magnitude bigger than needed to produce it. Creating a lie takes seconds. Debunking it can take days, expert analysis, or even legal action. And by then, the original post has reached millions who never see the correction. A few extra layers make it worse. So basically, they've gone back to the days of saying, listen, you're guilty, prove your innocence. This is the tactic that they're using. And this is why they keep doing it. Because again, it bogs the people down because now you have to prove that the story is fake. So again, when you read these things, question it. Because most of these things, I would say the majority, are going to be fake. Period. The end. That is it. Now, the other thing that's very interesting is that we could see the deep state players, they were trying to hold off in going after John Brennan. Trump, he put this out on Truth. He said, and this is coming from Real Robert, the damning email obtained by King Solomon through the Freedom of Information Act. That's John Solomon, by the way. In a stunning exchange, CIA Director Mike Morrell turns to fellow Director John Brennan and asks if he would join in toppling the United States government during the November 3rd, 2020 election. Brennan not only agrees, but also expresses his gratitude. CIA Mike Morrell, can I add your name to the list? We'll be adding Leon Panetta, Sue Gordon, Jay Johnson George, Lisa Monica, Mike Rogers, and working on adding Dan Coates, Mike Rogers, and Tom Bossert, and lots of other IC career folk. Trying to give the incapacitated vegetable, particularly during the debate on Thursday, a talking point to push back on Trump on this issue. CIA John Brennan says, okay, Michael, add my name to the list. Good initiative. Thank you for asking me to sign on. Interesting, isn't it? So basically, we can see John Brennan was involved in this. John Brennan, right now, there's an investigation going on, and it looks like it's stalled. The question is, why is it stalled? Well, it looks like it goes back to John Thune. Earlier this year, the U.S. Justice Department asked 2 Senate committees to provide transcripts and records of contacts with former CIA Director John Brennan regarding the now discredited Russia collusion allegations, signaling there was an active investigation into whether the former spy boss had misled or obstructed Congress. The letters gave a hard deadline of February 23rd for compliance. 2 months later, the body, run by Republican Senator Majority Leader John Thune, has not complied, slowing a key angle of the grand jury investigation based in Fort Pierce, Florida, into whether Obama and Biden-era government officials engaged in a conspiracy to weaponize law enforcement and intelligence tools to harm President Trump and his followers. So the question is, why is he delaying all this? Well, he's delaying everything, isn't he? Because he's not really a Republican. He's a fake. He's a phony. He's part of the deep state system. And now it seems that Joe DiGenova is going to be working the case. Remember, he's the one who was actually breaking down the Russian collusion going way, way back. Hahn says, I think it's great that Joe DiGenova is heading down there to shake things up. Unlike your usual lawyers, even the MAGA ones, he saw through the Russiagate hoax from day one and has been fully invested ever since. The problem is that you also need someone methodical and surgical who knows every part of the story inside and out, understands all the connections, and has the depth to actually move the ball forward. And I do believe this is the guy that's actually probably going to do it. But again, you can see the deep state players, they're using everything they possibly can to stop the investigations because they're panicking right now. They know their time is coming, and they're trying to do whatever they possibly can to try to stop this. And in the end, I do believe they're going to fail, just like everything else. And think about it. John Thune is doing everything he possibly can to stop the Save America Act, he won't hand over the information about John Brennan. And Paul put this out and said, Anna Paulina Luna is right. John Thune could simply remove the parliamentarian, place a Republican in that spot who will motion that the SAVE Act only needs 51 votes to pass. They have let a Democrat control how many votes a bill needs since 2012. Well, Sean Davis responds to this and says, the parliamentarian is never the problem. The parliamentarian is who senators blame when they don't have the votes but don't want to be held accountable for never doing what they promise. The parliamentarian is a shiny object meant to distract you from the actual villains. And he's absolutely right. And that's pretty much what we've seen. And we could see at this point in time that people are going to continually call John Thune out on this because, again, we could see that he doesn't want to pass the Save America Act because, again, he's part of the deep state system. And if that is passed, none of these people are going to be elected. Now, what's very interesting is that we can see that Trump's first impeachment case is completely and utterly falling apart. Tulsi Gabbard released the information that Schiff was hiding, was lying about, and we could see at this point in time that the entire impeachment was a gigantic hoax. And what's very interesting, and Tulsi Gabbard relays this, and this is coming from Wall Street Apes, and Trump put this out. She says that the Democrats changed the standard for impeachment right before impeaching Trump. They changed it so evidence no longer had to be credible just to get Trump. Literally treason. So in the lead up to the impeachment of President Trump, the standard was it had to be firsthand information. And then right before he happened to go through his impeachment process, the standard changed to being able to use secondhand information, even if it were unreliable and deemed unreliable. Inspector General did from requiring that there be either evidence or firsthand knowledge presented in order to determine whether or not a complaint is credible to merely allowing for hearsay and nothing else. How do you find a complaint to be credible when there's zero evidence provided, that there is zero firsthand knowledge provided, not only by the whistleblower, but any witness in this case, and when the Inspector General himself did not even request to see the documents that these individuals are referencing in their false accusations? Democrats literally changed it so it didn't have to be firsthand knowledge, and you need no evidence to make a claim for impeachment. Not a single person has been held accountable for this. Absolutely. And now, what is the House doing? Well, the U.S. House is moving forward to expunge President Trump's 2019 impeachment because of the bombshell files released by Gabbard. Those files found the accusations surrounding Ukraine were knowingly faulty. Gabbard has since made criminal referrals as a result. And yes, all of these people should be arrested. These people should be put in jail. But again, you need the grand juries, and that's what we're going to see happen right now. All this is now being worked on, and I do believe in the end, what you're going to see is you're going to see indictment, because again, once Trump has all the leverage, this is when you release all this, when they have no power to use against you. And Trump let us know that the end is near, and he did his way. He went ahead and he put out a post with Frank Sinatra. Scavino, just a couple days back, he also posted this, letting everyone know the end is near, and he's doing it his way. And all those people that are panicking, all those people that are following the fake people, well, it looks like Trump has a message to everyone. And he put this out on Truth, and he's pointing to Brendan Dilley. It says, "Trust Trump." Take a listen to what Trump retruthed.
Do you remember what it was like when the 2020 election was rigged and stolen? Do you remember all the bullshit stories people told you about how the fraudulent election would be overturned? Do you remember the symbols of tyranny when fences went up around D.C. for Joe Biden's inauguration? Do you remember watching fuel and food prices skyrocket in a matter of months? Do you remember watching our borders being invaded by a virtual army of unidentified criminals? Do you remember watching our nation get systematically destroyed for 4 years by the Joe Biden auto pen administration? Do you remember longing for the days of winning when we had Donald Trump in the White House? Do you remember thinking he was going to die when the bullet aimed at his brain only grazed his ear? Do you remember rejoicing after witnessing the miracle that saved his life? Do you remember celebrating the epic landslide victory in November of 2024? This is what you hoped for. This is what you prayed for. This is what you voted for. So why are you questioning every decision he makes now that he's back in office? God didn't save his life so he could make mistakes. He knows what he's doing. Maybe it's time to shut the fuck up and let him cook. This has been a public service announcement paid for by the Dilley meme team.
And I think that should tell you everything you need to know. The panic is setting in. Trump is gathering the evidence. His team is gathering the evidence. And once we have all this evidence, once we have the grand juries working on it, once we have the indictments, once we win the House, Trump is going to have everything that he needs to go after every single one of them. And they're going to be panicking like we've never seen before. So which means is that they know that this is coming. They know that he's gathering the evidence. He's gathering the evidence on Obama. Yes, he's going to get the nuclear dust. He's going to get the uranium isotopes. He's going to prove that it was Obama who did all this. And basically, once Trump has all of this and he's prepared to use it, this is when the deep state players are going to push their distraction. They're going to try everything they possibly can to try to get us into war. Again, it's all going to fail. Why? Because Trump is leading them down this path. He knows what they're planning. He knows what they're going to try to do. Why do you think he's been working with Xi? Why do you think he's been working with Putin? Because when you remove that part, if you remove them from that part of the equation, how do you start a war? You need an enemy to start a war. You just can't say, hey, we have an enemy. If the enemy doesn't go along with it, there's no war. So in the end, the deep state players are going to fail at all of this. It might look scary. It might look crazy, which it will. But in the end, it's all going to fail. Why? Because the Patriots are in control. Listen, everyone, thanks a lot for listening. Be well, be safe, and especially be prepared. Thanks a lot.